Hello everybody, welcome back to Reading for Vocabulary. I'm your host Brian Stewart. We're going over the same topic. We're talking about caring for animals. But in this lesson, lesson 9, we're going to focus on who helps sick or injured pets. The title, of course, is A Healthy Pet is a Happy Pet. So if your pet is not healthy, what happens? Who helps that pet? Who helps a sick or injured pet? Well, that's what we're going to read about in today's lesson. But as usual, let's learn some vocabulary first. Now, our first word is, uh-oh. Here we have a problem, right? Hurt, having a cut or other injury. This poor baseball player looks to be injured, right? Maybe they got hit by the ball or they twisted their leg or something happened or another player ran into that person. So what do we call a person who becomes injured while playing or working or doing whatever, right? You could be walking to school and you can become injured, right? So if you hurt yourself or you get hurt, somebody else hurts you, and you have a cut or you have a bruise, there are many types of injuries, right? Many types of injuries, but you are injured. Part of your body is damaged. That means injured. Now be careful, because injured doesn't mean the same as sick. If you're sick, that means you have a virus or some kind of disease, right? That's affecting your body and you don't feel right. If you're injured, there's been some kind of physical damage to your body, okay? So injury and sickness are different. Remember that, okay? And that's how in the title we had to say who helps sick or injured animals, because they're different. A sick animal is not the same as an injured animal. It's a different type of problem. When you're sick, it's a different problem than if you're injured. Okay, so those are two different conditions. Okay, next one. A medicine that keeps you from getting sick. Now, right, it's terrible, and probably you were in this situation before, but it's very important that you go to the doctor, and the doctor gives you medicine, usually a shot, right, that helps you from becoming sick later. Everybody has it, right? Now, we call these things a vaccine. It's a medicine that you get when you're young to prevent you from getting sick later. Some people still have the bump on their arm from where they got a shot when they were young. Usually it's for smallpox or some other disease like that, like polio. And this is a vaccine. Of course, we live in a very convenient age. The modern age that we live in is very convenient. We don't think about it. But medicine has developed so we can take these vaccines when we're young. We don't have to worry about these diseases. 100 years ago, 200 years ago, people died by the thousands, by the millions from diseases that we don't worry about today because of vaccines. So yes, it hurts, but it's important to get a vaccine. People will say shot. Have you gotten your shots yet? Or I need to get a shot. So to get a shot, get a shot, because it's like a shot that you get in your arm. And that's usually a vaccine for something that will prevent you from getting sick. Nowadays, we hear a lot about the flu shot. The flu shot, it's a vaccine to prevent you from getting the flu. And people will take it every year before winter starts to protect them from the flu. Okay, next one. 3, sharing equally with others. So these two artists or producers, or I'm not sure what's going on here, they're sharing their award equally. What they have, that award, what do they have? They have it in common. If you have something in common with somebody, that means you share that condition or that attribute, right? If you and your mother are very similar in appearance, right? Your appearance, you share your appearance in common. If you and your father have the same sense of humor, right? You share that same sense of humor, then you have a sense of humor in common. It means you have something similar to somebody else. Okay, next one, number 4. Whoa, that's kind of a funny looking picture, right? Here's a little boy, and he's meeting his younger brother or sister, but not yet. His younger brother or sister is still in his mommy's belly, right? Having a baby growing inside one. So mom here, what can we say about mom? She has a baby inside of her womb, inside of her belly, right? She is pregnant. So she is pregnant. Sometimes people will say she's with child, but she is pregnant. Okay. Next one, difficult. Something that is very difficult to do, like climb the rocks without a shirt on, that's tough. Okay, I'm just kidding about without the shirt on. It's tough even with a shirt on. But it's difficult, it's tough, right? So they're synonyms, basically. If you say something's very difficult, you can say, oh, it's very tough, right? For example, if you have a difficult test, you can say, whoa, that test was very tough. It was a tough test. It was a difficult test. Oh, 너무 힘들어, right? It was tough or it was difficult. Next one. When a doctor cuts you open, and fixes you, that's what's going on here. And this is something that's extreme, right? Oh, thankfully, it's not very common. But sometimes, some people, maybe us, maybe you, maybe me, might have a situation where the doctor needs to actually cut open our body and fix something inside to help cure us. What do we call that procedure? We say it is surgery. Okay? Now, the verb that we usually use with surgery is perform. The doctor will perform surgery. Or I need to, another way that we call this is operation. An operation. I need to have an operation. So if I'm in the hospital and I say, I have to have an operation, that means the doctor will perform surgery on me, right? The doctor performs surgery on me. I need to have an operation. Those are the common ways that we talk about this situation. Also, surgery can be used as an adjective. For example, the surgery room. This is the surgery preparation room, or this is the surgery area of the hospital. So sometimes surgery can also be an adjective, not just a noun. Okay, but remember, when it is a noun, we usually say perform surgery, and we also say, I need to have an operation, or you need an operation. That's the same idea. Okay, so a couple of common expressions for that situation. Next one. A visit to the doctor to check your health. Now, you should do this every year. Some people go every 6 months, right? Maybe when they're younger, it's important to do that. But you need to regularly go to the doctor to check your health. And that's part of the word, right? Check up. Because the doctor needs to check on you. They need to check to make sure you're not sick. It's called a checkup. And usually people go once a year for their annual checkup. Okay, number 8. A person who treats people for sicknesses and injuries. When you go to the doctor to check for sicknesses, or if you have an injury, who do you go to? What do you call that person? I think I just said it, doctor, right? This person, this lady, she is a doctor, right? And there are many different types of doctors, right? Some doctors will only specialize in like the nose, the throat, and the ears. Some doctors will only specialize in treating children. Some doctors will only specialize in fixing broken bones, right? There are many different types of doctors. Okay, number 9. Happening at the same time every time. So this is like something that happens every time. If you wind this up, this is what musicians usually use, right? It goes tick, 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 every time at a certain time. What do we say? It's regular. It's regular. Clocks are regular. They show us the time all the time, every time, right? And 1 hour, they go around the clock regularly. Our clocks are very regular. We can depend on them. Sometimes we have habits that are regular. For example, every morning you get up, you take a shower, you brush your teeth, or you eat breakfast, then you brush your teeth. That's your regular morning routine. That's regular. If you do something different, that's unusual, right? That would be the opposite. But happening at the same time, every time, that's regular. Okay, next one. moo, right? We have a couple of cows here. A baby cow, right? Animals will have different names for different sexes, right? Male or female. They'll also have different names for their age, right? We don't really say, we can say baby cow, but you could also say calf. Calf is more specific, right? A baby horse, you could say it's a baby horse, or you could say it's a colt, right? You could say a baby dog, or you can say puppy, right? Isn't it interesting? In English, I don't know if it's the same in Korean, but in English we have all these special words for baby animals, and they're usually a lot different, right? There's also cub, right? For bears and lions and tigers have cubs. Dogs have puppies. Horses have colts. Cows have calves. Oh, so many words to remember, okay? But it's very interesting. Okay, next one. Oh, what's wrong with him? He had a bad haircut, right? He should sue his barber. No, I'm just kidding. He wanted it that way, obviously. You have to specifically ask for this type of haircut, okay? Strange and unusual. I'm making a comment about it because it's not normal to see somebody with a haircut like this. It is, yeah, you could say weird, okay? He's strange, he's unusual. You could also say unique. Now, it's interesting because if we say weird, weird has a little bit of a negative feeling to it. If you say it's weird, it's like, oh, that's weird. But if you say it's unique, that can have a little bit of a positive feeling about it. So it depends on how you look at the situation. If you look at him and says, wow, that's cool, he's unique. Or you can look at him and say, oh, that's not good, it's weird, okay? So be careful using weird, because weird usually means you have a negative feeling about something, or unique can be if you have a positive feeling about something, but it's strange, it's unusual, then say, oh, that's unique. Okay, so that's more polite or better feeling associated with unique than weird. Okay, so that's interesting about these words here. Next, a container for carrying something. This is a container for carrying something. If you have to carry your pet, for example, you will carry your pet in a carrier. Usually, we only use this word, though. It's usually used for transporting animals, a carrier. If you have a container for carrying your books, you don't call it a carrier, you call it a backpack. If you have a container for carrying your food to school or to your office, we don't really call it a carrier. You could, but it's a little strange. We just say it's a food container, or if you use the brand name, it's Tupperware, right? So carrier is usually specifically used for a container that carries animals for transportation. Next one, number 13. A place where animals are raised for food. Now, a lot of people, they don't know where their food comes from. They think, oh, food comes from the supermarket. But that's not true. Where does the supermarket get the food? The supermarket is not the original place where the food comes from. The food comes from animals, a lot of animals, and also plants, where the animals are raised for food. Like, for example, pork or beef, sogogi, right? If you want to have bulgogi. Oh, I had a hard time just remembering that. Bulgogi or dweji kalbi, right? That meat comes from where? It comes from a farm. Okay? We say it's a farm where animals are raised for food. Okay? Sometimes people will also call it a ranch. But a ranch has a little bit of a different idea. A ranch is much bigger than a farm, and a ranch is usually where you have a lot of cows or cattle. And that's usually where cattle is raised, and it's usually very big. Farms tend to be small, and farms are also places where they grow plants like corn, wheat, things like that. But a ranch is where, usually specifically for cows, we have very big groups, herds of cattle. Okay, so anyway, farm and ranch. Usually we talk about farm, a place where animals are raised for food. Okay, next one. Now, looks like she's doing yoga, right? And she's stretching her body so that her hands are pointing where? They're facing away from the front. Her fingers are pointing away from her front. They are pointing backward. Okay? Now, if you turn around, right? Right now I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you in the front. But I can turn this way. Now I'm looking backward. Okay? It just means facing away from the front. Looking backward or stretching backward. Okay. Next one. A doctor who cares for animals. Now, there's a very long word, veterinarian. We'll see that word later in the reading, veterinarian. But that's a himdro word to pronounce. So a lot of people will just say vet. So veterinarian, woo, no mo himdro. Just say vet because it's a lot easier. And most people just say vet. A vet is a doctor who cares for animals. But be careful, because vet sometimes also can mean something else that is completely different. A veteran is a soldier who served in a war or served for their country in the military. Sometimes people will call those people a vet too. He's a vet. He served in the Iraq War. They're not talking about a person who cares for animals, okay? So be careful. Vet can mean a former ex-soldier, right? A person who used to be a soldier, or it can be a doctor who cares for animals. So be careful, don't be confused. If somebody says vet, you have to know the situation. What is the context of the situation? Okay. Last word. Kanjiro. Gypcha. Okay. A hard cover that goes over a part of your body. Now, unfortunately, this girl, she doesn't seem to be upset about it, but she's been injured, right? She probably broke or sprained her ankle or her foot. So she has to put something on that part of her body to keep the bones from moving. You want to keep the bones in the same position so they can heal together. Now, when I first came to Korea, it was Konglish. People called it gips, right? Gips. But that's Konglish. The word is cast. Now, I was very confused. I was like, why do my students call this a gips? Where does that come from? Well, I learned that this is made of the same material that chalk, white chalk in your classroom is made of, and that's gypsum. Ah, very interesting. So gips comes from the material that the cast is made from, right? And so I don't know where that started, whether it comes from Japan or you know, a lot of Konglish comes from Japan. I don't know where that came from, but somewhere people were thinking, okay, well, the cast is made of gypsum, so they just thought gips, and they called it that. Well, that's Konglish. Americans don't have any idea about that. It confused me when I first heard it. I'm like, where does that come from? We normally just say cast, right? And you put a cast on it, or you wear a cast, just like a shoe or a shirt. You wear a cast, okay? Or you could say the doctor put a cast on my foot. Now, even though you wear it, it's not like a shoe. You can't take it off and put it back on, all right? The doctor puts it on, and then 6 weeks later, the doctor has to cut it off, right? So it's not a normal piece of clothing, but we use the same verb, wear a cast. I have to wear a cast for 6 months. And don't say this, that's Konglish. Okay. Let's review. How well do we remember these words? Let's go over the comprehension questions here. Just the same as usual, we have a blank. We need to choose the best word to fill in the blank. Number 1, smallpox. I talked about that before. Smallpox was a disease 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Terrible disease, killed many, many people. It was a sickness that is gone now, thanks to people getting what? Remember, I told you when you're young, it's important to get that medicine, to get a shot. What's in the shot? Is it a checkup? Is it a vaccine? Is it an injury? Or is it a doctor? Well, of course, it's not a doctor. You can't put a person inside that shot. That's crazy. It's not an injury. That doesn't make sense. It's not a checkup. It's, of course, a vaccine, right? Thanks to people getting the vaccine, smallpox is gone. Nobody ever gets smallpox anymore because medicine has advanced so much that we just get the vaccine and the disease has died out in human beings. It's not there anymore. Okay, number 2. The pilot was beep badly when his plane crashed. Think about that. Somebody's flying a plane and they don't land correctly, the plane crashes. Well, what's going to happen? The pilot was what? Celebrated, injured, pregnant, or treated? You can't get pregnant from crashing your plane. That's crazy, okay? You're probably not going to be celebrated. Was celebrated badly? That doesn't make any sense. Celebrated is a good thing. Treated, he was treated badly when his plane crashed? That's possible, actually, right? People said, oh, you shouldn't have crashed that plane. But more logically, he was injured badly. That makes more sense because, of course, when you think about it, if you crash a plane or even if you crash a car or even your bicycle, you crash, you could get badly injured. So be careful when you're in a vehicle or riding your bike. You can become injured badly when your vehicle crashes, whether it's a plane, it's a car, or a bike. Be careful and follow the safety rules and regulations. Okay. Number 5, skipping up to number 5, I get along well with my girlfriend. Do you have a girlfriend or boyfriend? Okay. Do you get along well with that person? We have a lot what? If you get along with your girlfriend, it doesn't have to be girlfriend, it could just be friend. You get along well with your friend because we have a lot of what? Of problems. We have a lot of boredom. We have a lot to forget. Or we have a lot in common. What makes sense? If you have a lot of problems with your girlfriend, you don't get along well. Maybe it's time to break up and go find somebody else who you don't have problems with. We have a lot of boredom. That doesn't make sense, right? You get along with somebody because you're both bored together? That's isangheo. We have a lot to forget. Strange too. We have a lot in common. Remember, in common means you share something with somebody else. So if you share something with somebody else, you can understand them better. So if you have a lot, and we say a lot in common, that's a common expression, we have a lot in common, then you get along with the other person. If you don't get along with somebody, you can say we have nothing in common. That's the pandero. That's the opposite, right? So if you meet somebody and you think they could be my friend, but they're very different from you. They don't like the same things that you do. They don't like the same movies or the same music. They don't like the same books. They don't like the same hobbies that you do. You're not going to be able to spend a lot of time with them because you don't like the things they do. You don't have anything in common. You have nothing in common. But on the other situation, if you have many things in common, you have a lot in common. You like the same books, you like the same hobbies, you like the same movies, then you can get along with that person well. Okay, number 7. I can't believe you're beep and you're going to have twins. Have twins. That means that somebody is going to have babies. Now remember what we talked about. What's that word? If somebody has a baby in their belly, what are they? Are they necessary? Are they small? Are they slow? Or are they pregnant? Well, of course, the only one that makes sense is pregnant. I can't believe you're pregnant. And you're going to have twins. Not just one baby, but 2 babies, right? At the same time. You're going to have twins. Necessary doesn't make sense. I can't believe you're small. What does that mean? How does that have to do with twins? And I can't believe you're slow is kind of funny too. The only one that makes sense is pregnant. Okay, well, let's take a break now and we'll come back and go over the reading together.